one of the real takeaways that I'm getting from there, and it's kind of like echoing through a lot of what you're saying, it's all about giving really good value, serving the client, coming from the right place, and then making someone an offer. So you're giving them a little bit, you want to give them something, I think the name escapes me at the moment, but you want useful but incomplete. That's the type of information that you want to give, and then you just make people an offer. If people just take that and run with that, and even if they don't have the content themselves, then you can do what you were talking about as far as leveraging off someone else, and someone who does have that content, and then you become the conduit between getting their material sort of out there and their ideal client, using Traffic Geyser or any other sort of marketing. Everybody's got something that they can build, but you really want to just be giving clients good value and then making them an offer. You see, I suppose some people, we talked about some of the mistakes some people made when they first get started out. Also very interested to find out, because you've just launched yourself into, the stratosphere as far as internet marketing and positioning yourself as an expert. What are some of the steps that you took? Obviously there was the interviews and aligning yourself with the right individuals. Were there any other key things you can, think back on now after having achieved that success and go, I can see that point there, when I did this, that created huge, massive, excellent results?
Mm-hmm. Well, here's, there's a lot of ways to answer that question. So here would be, I'll tell you why I got to where I am right now. I'll give you the insight, just fully opening the kimono, and I'm going to read into your question and just basically say, if I knew then what I know now, what would I do to make the process faster? Okay?
That's what
Is that fair enough?
Yep, that's
okay, good. So here's the way it works. And again, it's so interesting because I'm going to get a little bit woo-woo on you here, as I always say, feathers, crystals, and fuzzy bunnies. But the sooner you operate from coming from the heart, a place of authenticity, and focus on giving first without expecting in return, the faster you're going to get to where you want to get. And even Google operates that way. Again, it comes down to frequent, relevant content. And the first thing you need to do is realize, and I learned this from the publishing world, it's called platform building. And one of the products that I created many years ago, it was the second information product ever made. It's called Everything You Should Know About Publishing, Publicity, and Building a Platform, a handbook for authors. And the website is everythingyoushouldknow.com. And I'm not plugging that product so much as to tell the story, because I worked with a woman who's considered one of the greatest book publicists who ever lived. Her name is Arielle Ford. And she basically quit the business because she reached a point where she just didn't like working with authors anymore, because she found that she repeated herself constantly. Everyone was looking for the magic bullet. Everyone thought they had the next big book that should be on Oprah. And they said, if they're not on Oprah, then it'd be the end of the world, or whatever it was. And the reality is they weren't ready. And the fact of the matter is no one ever becomes an overnight sensation. It happens very rarely, 1 in a gazillion. And people who appear to become an overnight sensation are people who have been building a platform for an extended period of time, and all once everything hits all at once. It's sort of like the perfect storm occurs. So let's talk about what the perfect storm is and how that works, and then I'm going to answer your question. So number one, a platform by definition is who you are, who you know, what you know, how big your list is, your reach, how many people like you who have essentially given you permission to communicate with their audience or their platform or their list, how media friendly you are, what kind of an expert, what kind of an authority you are, who believes you are an expert or an authority, how many times you've been interviewed, how many articles you've written, how many books you've written, how many letters you have behind your name, i.e. if you've got degrees and stuff like that. It's all of these things that you earn, okay? No one gives them to you, and you can't really buy it, because people who try to buy in are never respected. It's why second-generation wealth is usually not respected, okay? It's one of the burdens, one of the curses of being born into money, because everyone's like, it's daddy's boy. It's like, so what? What good are they other than the cash they have? And then, you think about how respect works. And this is just human nature material. So what happens here is if you become an expert on something and you can clearly demonstrate success, and show a system and show proof that it works, showing physical proof. And that's like in bank statements, it's in photographs, and it's verifiable. And you've got people who are like, and I teach this in a formula. I teach people how to create or how to make a perfect video testimonial. You basically are storytelling, and I'm not talking about making something up. I'm talking about actually weaving truth into a story that the human brain loves to hear, because we all like a beginning, a middle, and an end. And we all love happy endings. And we all love someone who came from nowhere, and we love that story about the small-town boy done good or the small-town girl done good. And everyone wants a hero. It's just the way our brains are wired. So the whole deal is if you can tell stories within that context, it's going to work. And you'll notice that the greatest salespeople, they're storytellers. The greatest authors, they're storytellers. They understand this. Either they intuitively do or they've learned how to tell great stories. So, and parables, the greatest story ever told is the story of, Jesus Christ, for example. At least a lot of people believe it. And if you don't believe in him, there are other messiahs of different, in every religion in some form or another. And they all tell stories. They were all storytellers. And they were wise. So, again, I'm being very esoteric here, so let's bring it down into how can I use this right now. First of all, understanding that there's a formula to selling, a formula to becoming successful is the first thing. There's actually a process. And I always tell people the most important thing to realize is you have to generate a system that consistently yields predictable results. So, back to the platform. If you want to generate a platform super quickly, what you want to do is hone a skill. Become an expert in a tiny niche. And a tiny niche is just fine. Prove that it works and give away a whole bunch of information. Share and teach people your skill set. You'll become recognized as that authority, and someone is going to want that skill in their lives. So, and from there you build on it. So I'm going to tell you my story and what's happened.